Thank you, Your Worship, Mayor Mike.
Can you raise your microphone up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, Mayor Mike. Councillors, Grand Chief Ron. My name is Chris Smissaert. I'm originally from Dalhousie, New Brunswick, and I graduated from the University of New Brunswick with a Bachelor of Science in Forestry in 1984. For 35 years, I've been employed as a professional forester based here in Fredericton, but traveling and working all over eastern North America. However, due to the death of forestry in New Brunswick, some years back now, I focused my career mostly as an arborist here in our wonderful city, the city of stately elms and noble daughter of the forest, Fredericton, New Brunswick. This is a city whose tree heritage I am very proud of. And now you have come up with this plan and want to cut 19 of the 23 trees in Officer Square down. I think you've forgotten that people come from all over Canada and beyond to Fredericton to come to Officer Square and sit under the trees and just enjoy. The city itself cites Officer Square as our premier heritage green space, the #1 place to visit while in Fredericton. And you want to cut down 19 of the 23 trees in Officer Square, and I say that's very misguided. We in the Save Officer Square group are people that know and love our trees and green spaces. And throw in a little heritage and culture, and we'll rise up to protect it. In a free and liberal democracy, we the people usually are satisfied with voting those bad politicians out in the next election. Usually. But in this case, civic action and perhaps even civil disobedience to save these irreplaceable, character-defining elements of the Garrison District and Officer Square in particular may be warranted. The reasons? Because you are not conducting adequate consultations, nor following known heritage and archaeological rules and legislation, or even our own bylaws. And it's very obvious and disappointing for us as citizens. And for example, I give in the spirit of reconciliation with our Indigenous friends and neighbors, you could have consulted with them and conducted proper archaeological undertakings to verify the highly expected Indigenous occupations, estimated, as we've heard already, to span between 8,000 and 13,000 years. Perhaps, to be inclusive as leaders, you should broaden your group of stakeholders, perhaps even this Garrison District Joint Committee, to be this more inclusive. So to speak of the master plan, this Garrison District Master Plan from March 2016, much is said about the historical significance of the districts, its character-defining elements, a phrase that I hope that you and city staff will learn to appreciate more as this meeting progresses. Time after time, I could quote from the Garrison's District's Master Plan statements like, new development that respects the area's rich historic character, or elsewhere, most important public space. And Mayor O'Brien, I hear you say lots of times here in the press recently, everything's rosy and the historic character will be respected. But frankly, I very much need you to explain what tangible things you have done to conserve the character-defining elements of Officer Square. And the plan is nice, Beth, I would say, I won't disagree with you, but I was not very impressed with the amount of jargon in the report. Stuff that was very difficult to understand, and disparaging comments about the look and what would appear to me to be basic lack of maintenance issues from the city. As an arborist, I don't see any tender loving care being given to the trees in the Garrison District. For example, in Officers Square, 3 ash trees and 1 oak tree are being eaten severely by forest tent caterpillars. And these caterpillars mass up on the main stem and could easily be removed. But no one from Parks and Trees seems to be doing it. And further, I would point out from the Garrison District Master Plan on page 25, construction of any component of the plan will not occur until stakeholders and the public are consulted in both schematic and detailed design phases. Conceptual designs we've all seen. Detailed design plans for Officers Square, we have not. And what about the promises on page 61 of the Garrison District Master Plan that each phase will require detailed design processes? And further along in that paragraph, in addition, numerous other work, as mentioned before, geotechnical, archaeological, servicing, and arboricultural studies be done. These have not been done nor adequately considered. And for example, I would give you the permits obtained from the provincial minister. They sure seem to be last-minute things. So as you know, the Garrison District is situated on Willistic River floodplain ground, and the soil is deep and rich. Alluvial soils ideal for growing trees. And the trees are, for the most part, in good health, except for these aforementioned forest tent caterpillar issues. The elm trees are at least hardy and resistant to the Dutch elm disease, and I know I heard from city staff tonight that some have been vaccinated against the Dutch elm disease, and we're patiently waiting for the rest of the trees along, the rest of the elms along Queen Street and other areas to get this vaccination as well. So I would like to talk for a moment about the trees of Officer Square, which allow it to be called the premier heritage green space in our city. If proper respect was given to the trees, development work could have worked around them. For example, yes, the stone wall and the wrought iron fence and their associated sidewalks are in need of repair. However, in the words of the heritage protection legislation, as we've heard from Chris and Jason, the term is conserved.
Chris, you have 1 minute.
I believe they say only to be conserved. So the fence and the stone wall could be taken apart in situ and repaired in place. Tree rooting zones do not need to be disturbed in any way, and any and all city infrastructure can be located far from the trees, especially, and I'm speaking especially about the trees along Queen Street. Further, all the trees, including their rooting zones on Queen Street, including this Calathumbian tree, could be far enough away from any skating oval to be saved if they were prioritized and received the respect they deserve.
Please join us in the remarks. Thank you.
So finally, I ask you, what have you really done to conserve our beloved heritage green space? And perhaps more importantly, what changes will you now do to conserve the character-defining elements of Officer Square?
Thank you, Chris. Next.